Did you howl at the moon during the full harvest moon on October 1st? Did you? Hi, my name's Jules and I'm the Dawdling writer, and today we're going to be talking about how the first week of my moon phase writing experiment went. Before we get into it, make sure you hit the like, maybe subscribe if you want to see more of it. Let's jump into it. So it's now the second week of October, and the first full week of October included two moon phases. We had the full moon, which was the harvest moon on October 1st, and then following that we had the waning gibbous, also known as the disseminating moon. And if you want to hear about the particular moon phases and the things that you should be writing according to the moon phases, you can watch the video that I will link somewhere above because I can't remember which side it's on. I made sure that I was trying to stick to the activities that were listed, or the writing tasks that were listed for these two particular moon phases, especially since it was the first week. I wanted to stick to it. It is fully planning for Preptober in this new project. I'm scheming, I'm plotting, I'm developing characters, I'm doing all those kinds of things. And I am going to be trying to write this first draft, or at least the majority of a first draft, during NaNoWriMo. And so in addition to this moon phase project, which is the new project, I will be attempting to work on my YA fantasies as well. But since I haven't quite figured out the tips and the tricks for writing multiple projects at once, we'll see how that goes. But I am really excited about this project, and so I am hoping that it will go well. So just as a quick refresher, with the full moon phase, you have the day of. That is for sure when you should be doing those tasks, but you also have the day prior and the day after, that 3-day window in which you can accomplish these writing tasks. So for the full moon, which included the last day of September, the first day of October, and the second, according to the moon phase experiment, I should be focusing on drafting, planning, adding scenes, information, details, building characters, especially characters who are going to be living very full lives, have full growth cycles, and building relationships between characters, whether that's antagonistic, familial, romantic, or even factions. So there's that aspect of character building, and then there's also the world building, where I should be focused on the southern direction of the setting because of the moon phase association with the southern direction. I spent the first and the second day of October doing some pretty critical, basic world building. And one of the first things I wanted to try and figure out was the genre. What am I writing? Since it's a moon phase experiment, of course, there should probably be shapeshifters of some sort. At least that's what my brain tells me. And so as an avid reader of paranormal romance, I think I'm going to try and make this a paranormal romance. It has at least an 80 to 90% chance of being a paranormal romance, unless something really interesting smacks me on my head and tells me no, it should be something else. I'm hoping that this one goes much better than the failed attempt at the contemporary romance that I found so excruciating to write. And then the next thing that I wanted to figure out was the time frame of the story. How long does the story going to run? And since it is a moon phase experiment, I kind of had this idea that I wanted it to take place like October, between full moons. There's a deadline that the characters are going to have to reach to achieve something before the next full moon, that type of thing. But in the process of the first couple of days, I already figured out that I wanted one or two scenes at the very beginning when I'm introducing the character. I wanted them to be outside of that lunar cycle window. Outside of those particular scenes, everything is going to fall into the lunar cycle. So in other words, if it continues to be a romance, it will be a whirlwind romance. On to the characters, because the full moon cycle, I'm supposed to be developing those characters that are going to live really, really full and interesting lives. So as an additional point of inspiration, I use tarot decks to kind of inform my stories, the archetypes in them, or just get some image inspiration. And I have a deck that is called the Shadowscapes deck. It's very pretty, and it has several characters with wings or horns or mermaids. And I decided to use that particular deck for the moon phase experiment. The card that made me attracted to this deck for this particular writing experiment was the Magician card. And so the Magician card, I will attempt to hold it up to the screen, and if not, to the camera. If not, I will just post a picture. But I think I might have to post a picture. But this is the Magician card, and so he has the 4 element tokens tied to his wings. He is sitting on the earth, but he's perched in the air, and he has this really cool green globe that he's creating, and some sort of magic spell, something that he's creating, something magical, something that, because of the green, makes me think of new life. And so, but that particular green globe made me question, like, what kind of magic is it? And so from there, my way of planning is just to ask myself a whole bunch of questions until I feel like my brain is going to answer them or give me some sort of clarity. So I'm going to read you some of my stream of conscious notes that I took in questioning this card. And so here it goes. Is he creating a new form of life? Does this creation of a new life go against nature? Is he creating a clone of himself? What happens if he accidentally passes all of his magical talent and elemental associations to the clone when he didn't intend to? And what if, after he creates the new clone, his body ages and crumbles like Rumpelstiltskin without the magic that he has accidentally passed on? So then this new clone would then look back at him as he is crumbling, his wings are falling off, his horns are falling off, and the new clone asks, is this how humans are made? And so what if the old magician was obsessed with creating new life, that idea, and then the new magician is looking at the old magician and wondering how humans are made, or maybe about the manipulation of time? Does he begin trying to find a way to make creatures who are normally mortal now immortal, or somehow regain their youth? Does he begin splicing human genes with animal genes as a product of that experiment? Is that how shapeshifters are created? Yes, there it is. That's the foundational information that I need to know why shapeshifters exist in my world, and it is now a proper shapeshifter moon phase world. There we go. The magician, in all of his clone iterations, because I don't know at the moment how many there are, but the magician is the creator, the inventor of the shapeshifters. And then because I wanted to continue using the tarot cards because they're so pretty for inspiration, I used a circular tarot spread. I'm calling it the wheel spread because my friend over at Learn Tarology, I took her introduction to timing class, and she gave us a diagram for the wheel of the year, which is essentially a pie diagram with all of the associations for the different directions. And so I used this particular spread, and I laid out the 8 directional cards, plus I pulled a card from the bottom of the deck to represent the hidden information or something that I needed to know. I used this to gain some inspiration for the main characters, for some of the antagonistic characters, for some of the information, some additional information for the world. One of the tarot cards that I pulled was the Knight of Cups reversed, or inverse, if you want to call it that. And that was for the northeastern direction. So in general, the card meaning of the Knight of Cups reversed can be associated with a man who appears to be gallant and romantic and generous, but that's in fact a facade. And this person is actually pretty merciless and is usually involved in some sort of trickery or fraud and deception. This character would obviously not be my main male character if I'm making this a paranormal romance, but this would be some sort of antagonistic character. And at the first time that I pulled it, I was like, okay, I don't know if this person is going to be in direct opposition to the male lead, or if this person is going to be in opposition to the female lead when this character is first introduced. So I wasn't sure if this Knight of Cups was going to try and seduce and manipulate the female lead, or if it would be another secondary character, which turned out to be the case later on. So the northeast direction, which was where the Knight of Cups reversed was placed, can be associated with the 3 a.m. witching hour. It's supposed to be the time when evil things or supernatural and black magic is at its strongest. I could definitely tell that this character is evil. This character is bad news. So then I started to think, who is he going to be manipulating? Is it going to be that female lead, or is it going to be a different character? Why is he manipulating these women? What does he gain from it? And how does he relate to the magician? So that's the kind of things that I wanted to start asking myself. And I got some answers. I figured out some answers, but we'll put a hold on that for a second. So I also pulled the hidden card, so the card from the bottom of the deck, which I pulled the 7 of Cups is a masculine and feminine character who are looking at a map trying to find something, and the feminine character is pointing the way at this magical floating island that has a castle or something on it. Bingo, there you go. They're on the quest to find a magician's library or the magician's tower or something like that. And then why the library in particular? One, because I like books, but also because the magician might have some grimoires in there, or maybe a record of all the experiments that he did when he was creating the shapeshifters. But why would they need that particular information? Why would they need the records of the experimentation? Is there something that's gone wrong with the shapeshifter's ability to shift? So what is it that they are seeking? What is the quest that they are going on? And why is it important to either of the characters? And so that gives me a little bit more information sort of as a sideline for my main female character, because she has to have some sort of talent or ability that will help the shapeshifters find the library. And so that sort of got some bits turning into my brain, and with a couple of other cards, I was able to figure out a way that the magician also would have had an impact in creating psychic humans, or humans who could use elements. So with the full moon, the directional focus is associated with the southern direction. And so for this position, I pulled the Page of Pentacles reversed. So this can mean a student or somebody who is immature, somebody, or could indicate some sort of delay in the physical development. So that kind of solidified for me the idea that something has gone wrong with the shapeshifter's ability to shift. And I initially thought that maybe the elders were going to be the ones who couldn't shift. Maybe they were petrified for some reason. But then when I pulled the page is usually associated with some sort of youth. And so I started to kind of rethink that idea, and because the characters in the story would be that much more invested in the mission to find the cure if the youth were being affected. As for the direction, the shapeshifter's lair is going to be to the south, because that's the easiest way to get something into my brain. And so the female character is going to have to travel south to meet the shapeshifters and be introduced to their lair, their village. I'm not sure what I'm going to call it yet, but there you go. So I'm in the midst of creating a pretty simple map, but so I have marked down in the south that is where the shapeshifter's home will be. That was the first 2 days of the moon phase experiment. But I found that after pulling all of those 9 cards for the first spread, the first wheel spread layout, whatever you want to call it, I still didn't feel like I had a solid idea of what the conflict would be, other than you have to save the shapeshifter, race to figure out the answer task. So I wanted to think about that a little bit more as I moved into the disseminating moon phase, which runs from the 2nd to the 9th of October. So I still have a couple days left. So during this time frame for the disseminating moon, I need to be editing, deleting clutch phases, removing excess information, detail scenes, and sometimes killing off characters, eliminating plot holes, but also making sure to form characters that use their gifts to benefit the community, create some sort of unconventional philosophies or actions that impact the plot, create teachers, preachers, and mentor characters, and also focus on how information spreads in the story. And when world building, focus on the southwestern direction of the setting. I already knew going into this, so I could go ahead and sort of put the little check mark that the main characters are going to be the ones that are using their gifts to benefit the community. And that ties in with how the female main character is going to be using her gift that she previously thought was not so much of a gift in order to help the shapeshifting community and sort of find a new home for herself. In order to figure out the plot holes and sort of begin sewing them up, especially for not having an idea of what the conflict is supposed to be, I laid out another set of the wheel spread, the wheel layout. So I wanted to focus with this second layout on the conflict. And with this particular batch, I pulled the Page of Wands. And for me, this was a pretty important card pull because it began to sew together some of the plot ideas for the B plot. So the Page of Wands is supposed to be a young and fiery and temperamental kind of character. She is a character that can be somewhat volatile, so she might be warm and loving in 1 second, and then she could switch and be raging and violent. And so very, very fiery, can be warm, but can also be very destructive. And so I again started my asking the questions. Is the raging and anger what happens to other psychic humans who inherited the magician's elemental talents? Is that the excuse they give for locking the female character up in an asylum as she is a child? Or is this a different character entirely? Totally different character. Is this character, the Page of Wands, the one who falls in love with the wrong person and then goes off the rail, losing her sanity and good decision making once she's betrayed? Is she the one who falls in love with the Knight of Cups reversed? How does this rocky relationship between the Page of Wands and the Knight of Cups reversed affect the main characters? If the Page of Wands falls in love with that evil and womanizing evil knight, because he shows her his fraudulent gentle side, she's definitely going to be hit hard emotionally. Her obsession with him is going to grow, either trying to get him to love her back or getting revenge for betraying her. She could also be a part of the discord within the shapeshifter family in order to convince those in the family that the Knight of Cups is a better option for the next alpha before he betrays her, of course. Could also frame the female lead, making her a scapegoat for something that harmed the shapeshifter family, so that they don't trust the female and male leads to properly handle the quest. But what does the Knight of Cups reversed offer to the Page of Wands? False affection, of course, the illusion of love, maybe drugs to keep her addicted and obsessed with him. How is she going to take revenge on him? Does her revenge endanger the other shapeshifters as well? If so, how? So by the time that I finished pulling all 9 cards for the second layout, I had pretty much solidified the B plot in my mind. And the B plot is definitely centered around this particular rocky relationship and how it spirals out of control with this particular page of wands loses her mind, and so there's going to be some definite long-term impacts and some delays that happen because of the actions that she's going to take. She was a very important card to pull, so I am glad that I pulled her and made some connections for the B plot. As for the directional association for the disseminating moon, it's associated with the southwestern direction, and for that position I originally, with the first round, pulled the Ace of Swords reversed, and it's a card of the air element, but it's also a card of indecision, poor judgment, or ineffectiveness. So this ineffectiveness sort of like was sticking in my brain, and so I figured this might be a red herring for information that the main characters are going to receive. So they think they're going to receive something, some nugget of information that is very important and key to the quest, but in fact they do not. So perhaps there's a ruined laboratory that they are trying to get something out of, or maybe there's rumors of a grimoire that lead the characters to the southwest region. And I haven't quite decided if I want this to be the ruins of a laboratory or maybe an auction house that is selling off what seems to be a grimoire. So I'm not sure about that. So I'm gonna have to think about that a little bit longer, but that's currently where I'm at. So I still have a few things to do for the rest of the disseminating moon phase, which is until the 9th, which will be possibly today by the time this goes up, not sure. But I still need to figure out who my mentor and teacher characters are. I still need to work on developing some unconventional actions that are going to impact the rest of the plot. I need to figure out the way the information is spread. So I need to build a gossip network among the shapeshifter aunties. And so that means figuring out who are the aunties, who are they related to, like, you know, maybe is there some sort of cafeteria or water cooler breaks where gossip gets sent around. So how is gossip and information disseminated amongst the shapeshifters? And also how the Page of Wands is going to contact the magician in order to betray the others. Spoilers. But yeah, so as for word count, I think I'm doing pretty darn well. I have written over 18,000 words already this month as of the 7th, the end of the day on the 7th. And 13,000 of them are for this particular story. I would say that I'm doing pretty darn well for this experiment. I am enjoying it. It is fun. I'm liking this story so far, although I still want to solidify some of that A plot stuff because the B plot is nice. I like the B plot, but I need to figure out more of the A plot. So make sure that if you enjoyed this video, please do give it a like, and I will be back in a week. I'm excited about the progress that I'll be making in week 2. And so yeah. Don't forget that if you want to do some live writing sprints with me, you can join me Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern, Sundays 2 to 5 p.m. Eastern. Those are my regular streaming hours. And I will be a part of the Worldwide Write-a-thon this weekend. I will be on Cachet's 2 p.m. Eastern on the 10th, and then I will be hosting a chat session on my channel Sunday at 9 a.m. Thank you for joining me today. Don't forget to save your document, hydrate, and make sure you're taking some stretch breaks, and I will see y'all later. Thank you for joining me. Bye!